Good morning everyone. This morning we'll be learning on chapter 7, that is diversity in living world. Diversity in living world. In this chapter we'll be discussing about what is classification, what is classification, what is the basis of classification, basis of classification. Third point is the five kingdom classification. Five kingdom classification. Then we'll be discussing on the different groups or the plant kingdom, and the animal kingdom. Plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. So now the first point is classification. What is classification? Now if you look around us, there are wide varieties of animals. Be it microorganisms or multi-organisms. There are different animals which diverse or which with different characteristics, and it is important that we classify them according to their similarities and differences for the convenience of our study. So we can define classification as the grouping of organisms. We can define classification as the grouping of organisms according to their similarities and differences. The grouping of organisms according to their differences and the similarities is called classification. Now, Aristotle, a scientist, he classified the whole living organism in this world into three categories. Those which live on land. The second category is those which live on water, and the third is those which are able to fly. Those organisms or those animals which spend most of their time flying. So this is the three classification proposed by the three system classification proposed by Aristotle. The next and the most accepted system of classification was proposed by R.H. Whittaker, and it is known as the five kingdom classification. The five kingdom classification. Now, the different bases of these five kingdom, the basis of these five kingdom classification was, the first was whether they are prokaryotic, or eukaryotic. This prokaryotic and eukaryotic we have discussed in our first chapter. Now the second basis of classification is whether they are unicellular or multicellular. Then another basis of this five kingdom classification was depending on their mode of nutrition. Whether they are able to produce their own food or whether they depend on others for their food. Then the next basis of classification is their cellular organization. Whether their bodies or the cells which are The cells which made up their body are complex, simple. That is the third basis, the fourth basis of the five kingdom classification. Now, the five kingdoms are, we have, the first kingdom is kingdom Monira, the second is kingdom Protista, the third kingdom is kingdom Fungi, fourth is kingdom Planti, the last one is kingdom Animalia. So these are the five kingdoms which was proposed by R.S. Whitaker. The first kingdom, kingdom Monira, second kingdom, kingdom Protista, third kingdom, kingdom Fungi, fourth kingdom, kingdom Planti, and lastly, kingdom Animalia. This kingdom, the first kingdom Monira, it comprises only of bacteria. And this kingdom Monira. The next, it comprises of eukaryotic unicellular organisms. Then fungi, and lastly, kingdom Planti and kingdom Animalia, which we'll discuss in more detail. Now, now kingdom Planti. Kingdom Planti. Now, the basis of, under this we'll discuss first the basis of classifying the basis of classification under kingdom Planti. Now, the first point is, the first basis of classifying the whole plant kingdom is, the first one is whether they have well differentiated body parts. Then the next is whether they have conducting tissues. That is, whether they have xylem or phloem. Then further classification is based on whether there are flowering plants or non-flowering plants. Then another basis of classification is whether they bear naked seeds or the seeds are covered. So these are the different bases of classification of the whole plants. Now, under this, the major plant kingdom, the major division in plant kingdom are, first we have, these are the major divisions in plant kingdom. First we have one, Bryophyta. Second we have Thallophyta. Then we have Pteridophyta. Then further we can classify into gymnosperms and angiosperms. So these are the major divisions in kingdom Planti. First one, it should be Thallophyta. Thallophyta. Bryophyta, then Pteridophyta, Gymnosperm and Angiosperms. These are the simplest. These are the simplest plants in which there is no differentiation of the body parts. Their body is not differentiated into stem, roots or leaves. Then in Bryophyta, which are also known as the amphibians of plant kingdom, they are also known as the amphibians of plant kingdom. They are known as amphibians of plant kingdom because for their reproduction they need water. That is why they are known as the amphibians of plant kingdom. Then this Bryophyta, their body is differentiated into stem and roots, but there are no conducting tissues. There are no conducting tissues. Then Pteridophyta. In this Pteridophyta, these are the more complex group of plants which you find in kingdom Plantae. These are the more complex group of plants which comes under or which are found in the kingdom Plantae. And this they have well differentiated body parts, stem, roots, leaves, as well as they have conducting tissues, xylem and phloem, to conduct food, nutrients from different parts of the plant, as well as water. Then, depending on their ability to flowering plants and non-flowering plants, we have gymnosperms and angiosperms. We have another group of plants, or another category of plants known as monocots and dicots. Monocots and dicots. Those monocots are those which have only one cotyledons. Which have only one cotyledon, and dicots are those which have two cotyledons, also known as seed leaves. Also known as seed leaves. Next we have kingdom Animalia. Next we have kingdom Animalia. Now in kingdom Animalia we have 10 major phylum. 10 major phylums. That means under kingdom Animalia you will find different group of animals. And these different group of animals, they are classified into 10, or they are grouped into 10 different phylums. Now the different bases, same with plant kingdom, in animal kingdom also there are different bases of classifying the animal kingdom, or we can say basis of classification. There are different bases of classification. Under this we have whether they are according to the body symmetry, whether they are asymmetrical or radially symmetrical or bilaterally symmetrical. Or another point of the basis of classification is whether they are tripoplastic or whether they are diploplastic. Then whether they have notochord, or not. So those are the different bases of classification. Okay, so now the first major phylum in kingdom Animalia, we have phylum Porifera. porifera. Number 2 we have Coelenterata. Number 3 we have Platyhelminthes. Number 4 we have Nematoda. Number 5 we have Annelida. Number 6 we have Arthropoda. Number 7 we have Mollusca. Number 8 we have Echinodermata. Number 9 we have Protocordata. And lastly we have number 10, we have phylum Chordata. So these are the major phylums of kingdom Animalia. First we have Porifera, phylum Porifera, phylum Coelenterata, phylum Platyhelminthes, phylum Nematoda, or we also call as Esculmenthes. Then we have Annelida, phylum Arthropoda, phylum Mollusca, phylum Echinodermata, phylum Protocordata. Then we have lastly Chordata. Now Porifera, they are also commonly known as pore-bearing organisms. Example we have sponges. These are the examples of phylum Porifera. Then we have Coelenterata, phylum Coelenterata, which are mostly marine organisms, and they show radial symmetry. They show radial symmetry. Example of Coelenterata you have Hydra. This is an example of phylum Coelenterata. Next we have Platyhelminthes. They are also commonly known as flatworms, which are bilaterally symmetrical and they show tissue level organization. Example we have Taenia. This is an example of phylum Platyhelminthes. Then we have Nematoda, or also known as Esculmenthes, commonly known as roundworms. They are also bilaterally symmetrical. And example we have Ascaris. Example of Nematoda or Esculmenthes. Then the fifth major phylum is phylum Annelida. They are commonly known as segmented worms. Under this you have their body is differentiated into different segments. Comprises of different segments. Example of Annelida you have Hirudinaria. That is a scientific name of leech. Or another example, Ferretima. Another example of Annelida is Ferretima. Common name is earthworm. So those are the examples of phylum Annelida. Next we have Arthropoda. Next we have arthropoda, commonly known as arthropoda. Commonly they are known as organisms with jointed legs. Organisms which have jointed legs. Arthropoda. This arthropoda, it comprises of the largest group of organisms. Largest group of organisms. Under this, the example includes all the insects. All the insects comes under phylum Arthropoda. Then the next is phylum Mollusca. Phylum Mollusca. They are also known as soft-bodied organisms. Soft-bodied organisms. Their body is covered by a hard calcareous shell. A hard calcareous shell. Example, we have Pila. Pila, it is the scientific name of snail. Pila, octopus, all those comes under, those are the examples of mollusca. Then Echinodermata. Echinodermata, phylum Echinodermata. Now, those are organisms which have spiny skins. Spiny skins. Example, we have starfish. Example, we have starfish, or also known as scientific name is Asteris. One of the characteristic features of the animals which are found in Echinodermata are they have water vascular system, which is used for gaseous exchange as well as for obtaining their food. Then next we have Protochordata. Protochordata, they include organisms which resembles both the phylums which we have discussed so far. That means Porifera, Cementarata, Platyhelminthes, Nematoda, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, as well as Echinodermata. It comprises of organisms which resembles all these organisms plus the chordates, but they resemble more to these animals, to these major phylums. The only characteristics which resembles the chordates is the presence of notochord. Now, in this group of organisms, this notochord, which is a rod-like structure, it is a rod-like structure which is present on the dorsal side, of the organism. This notochord is formed in the early stages of their life. Example, we have Melanoglossus and Fuchsus. These are the example of Protochordata. Next we have the last phylum, that is phylum Chordata. The last phylum, that is phylum Chordata. Now, the characteristic features of this phylum is they have notochord. They have dorsal nerve cord. Thirdly, they are triploplastic. Number 4, they have gill pouches. And number 5, they are coelomate organisms. Notochord, as we discussed, it is a rod-like structure which is found on the dorsal side. Then the dorsal nerve cord. Then triploplastic. That means these organisms, they develop from the the three germ layers. The three germ layers. The three germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. Then presence of gill pouches. Then lastly, they are coelomate. That means they have true body cavity. So these are the characteristic features of the animals which are found in phylum Chordata. Now again, phylum Chordata is divided into different classes, which the different classes we have Pisces, you have amphibia, you have reptilia, Pisces, amphibia, reptilia, you have aves, and lastly you have mammalia. So these are the different classes of phylum Chordata: class Pisces, amphibia, reptilia, aves, and mammalia. Pisces, it includes all the fishes. All the fishes comes under class Pisces. The characteristics include they have body scales, they have fins, they have streamlined body, they are found in marine water bodies as well as freshwater bodies. So these are some of the characteristics and examples of class Pisces. In amphibians, this include the organisms which can survive both on land and on water. This includes the organisms which can survive both on land and as well as on water. Then it includes include frogs. Frogs are the examples of amphibians. Then reptilian, also known as scaly skin organisms. Scaly skin organism. You have snakes, crocodile. Those are the example of reptilians. Then they are also you have under this. There are warm-blooded organisms. They are cold-blooded organisms. They are cold-blooded organisms. That means their body temperature changes with the change in the environmental temperature. Then cold-blooded. Then they are oviparous. That means they lay eggs. Then next aves. Aves, it includes all the birds. Its characteristics includes their body is covered with feathers, they have wings to fly. Then they are also oviparous, that means they lay eggs. So those are the examples of aves as well as the characteristics. Then lastly we have mammalia. It includes those organisms which give birth to young ones. Mammalians, it includes those organisms which give birth to young ones, with exception of platypus. Then there are also warm-blooded organisms. That means they are able to maintain a constant body temperature even when the environmental temperature changes. Lastly, we have nomenclature. Nomenclature is the naming of organism. Naming of different organisms. or we can also say the systematic naming. The systematic naming of different organisms is called nomenclature. Giving names to different animals, that is called nomenclature. Then under this you have binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature means assigning or giving two-word name. Assigning or giving two-word name. That is the scientific name to an organism is called binomial nomenclature. Assigning or giving two-word name. Two-word name to a particular organism, that is called binomial nomenclature. We can also say that assigning or giving scientific name. Scientific name to a particular organism, that is called binomial nomenclature. Now, what are the things you have to remember while assigning or giving scientific names? The first point is scientific name, that means genus and species. Now, so the things we have to remember, or the points we have to remember while giving the scientific name, that is the genus and the species, is the first point is the genus. The name of the genus begins with it always begins with a capital letter. With a capital letter, and the species with a small letter. The species with a small letter. Then the next point is when printed means when the scientific name is printed, it should be in italics. Then another point is when it is handwritten, we should underline the scientific name, that is the genus and the species separately, not together, not like this, but separately. Those are the different points which we have to keep in mind while assigning the scientific name. Example, we have tiger. This is the common name. Now the scientific name is Panthera tigris. So this is the scientific name of tiger. This is the genus and this is the species. So like this you have to underline separately when you write it with your hand. When it is printed, it should be in italics. Another example is rohu fish. Scientific name is Labio rohita. This is the scientific name of rohu fish. This is the genus, this is the species. So in that way you have to write separately and underline separately, not together like this. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this chapter, that is diversity in the living world. In the next class we'll start with tissues, that is chapter 6.